Welcome back to the channel, and this is a channel where we give you reviews, playthroughs, unboxings. We generally like to talk a load of bollocks about tabletop gaming in general, and in this video we're going to be talking about a very, very simple skirmish game. We're going to be talking about Robot Quest Arena, and in this game you'll be moving your little robots around the board. You'll be trying to beat up your opponents to score victory points that will allow you to win the game. So in this video we're going to be giving you a very brief overview of the rules, telling you what we do like, we don't like. Then we'll come back and we'll tell you whether or not Robot Quest Arena is worth your time and bother today and in the future. So remember, if you're new here, then please consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you after this. Bollocks! So, Robot Quest Arena, how'd you play this game? So Robot Quest Arena is a very, very simple skirmish game. You're going to take control of one of the 4 robots in the core box. There are a couple of extra robots that come in expansion packs. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the ones that you're going to buy at retail, right? Each player is going to get a player board. You see that you have got a special ability on your player board. You might have crate, and their special ability means that your opponents are going to have to pay one extra move to push you, right? You might end up having Pug. It says Pug may spawn on any empty space among the 9 spaces in the center of the board, including during setup. You see that on the board there are 9 spaces. If you start your turn on one of these spaces, you're going to get a victory point from the supply, and the player with the most points will be the winner, right? So you've got to get many victory points as possible. I know it's a novel concept, I know it's difficult to grasp, but that is life, isn't it? So each player's going to have a standard deck of cards. You're going to have a number of batteries. Batteries will give you energy that will allow you to move and will allow you to buy cards from the shop. They'll also allow you to push your opponents, right? It's going to cost you 2 energy to push an opponent. And when you do this, you'll move your opponent 1 space back, and then you will move into their space, unless you push them against the wall, in which case nobody's going to move and they'll do 2 damage. When you take damage, you'll give a damage cube to your opponent, and if you give them the last blue damage cube, that's going to be worth 2 victory points, and that means that they will be knocked out and they'll have to respawn at the beginning of the next player's round. They'll be able to respawn onto any of the respawn points on the board. You'll also be given a couple of bog standard weapons. There's a hammer and jump jets. The hammer is a very basic weapon. It is a melee weapon, which means you've got to be orthogonally adjacent to your target, and it does 1 damage. The jump jets give you 2 movement and allows you to move through obstacles, so you could move through or over a wall if you like. So you're going to draw 5 cards, and you'll be using these cards in your hand to take different actions. This is a Dominion style deck builder, so you're going to have a hand of cards. You're going to use cards to put them in your discard pile. Any cards you don't use are going to go in your discard pile. Any cards that you do buy are going to go, guess where? Not up your ass, in the discard pile, you fucking fuckwit. So if you want to move, you're going to have to spend energy, and you'll move your robot that many spaces orthogonally, right? Can't move diagonally, yeah, so don't even think about it. You can buy cards from the shop. There's going to be 6 items that are going to be replenished. There's going to be 3 permanent items that are going to be on display at all times, unless they run out, of course. These are going to be advanced batteries that give you free energy. Not like free energy. Everyone would love a bit of free energy, wouldn't they? But 3 energy, yeah? Open your ears. You're going to have a heavy hammer, which is going to do more damage, and you're going to have a rivet gun, which is going to be a very basic melee weapon, yeah? So there's going to be 3 types of items you're going to buy. There's going to be a functional item, there's going to be weapons, there's going to be different types of batteries, yeah? So some of the functional items you can use are the advanced AI. It's going to cost you 3 energy, gives you +4 move, and it allows you to put a card from your discard pile back on the top of your deck, right? You might be able to buy the system upgrade. It's cost 4. It says you may scrap a card in your hand. If you do so, acquire a card that costs up to 3 energy more than the scrap card for free. If you scrap a card, it means you're going to be taken out of the game. It's basically the trash pile in Dominion, yeah? So some of the weapons that you can use, you might have the grappling clamp. Cost 4. It's going to do 1 damage, and it's got a range of 4. When you target somebody at range, you've got to have line of sight. Basically, you're going to do a usual thing. You're going to trace a line from the center of your space to the center of their space, and if it doesn't go through any obstacles, then you've got line of sight, yeah? And it says put the targeted robot onto the space next to you, yeah? That means that you can move them, and then you can give them a good whack. Or you might have the super duper mortar, which costs 8 energy. It's going to do 4 damage at 4 range, and it says ignore line of sight and may shoot over walls and other obstacles. So you want to get hold of the mortar as quickly as possible. So once you are done playing actions, everything's going to go into, yeah, you remember the discard pile. Not up your fucking arse, even though I know secretly you do want to put it there. And you'll redraw 5 new cards, and it'll be the next player's turn, yeah? When somebody's knocked out and there's no blue cubes left for them to respawn with, then the game will end immediately. You'll add up all of your victory points, and the player with the most points will be the winner of Robot Quest Arena. So what do we like about Robot Quest Arena? So the first thing that we really like about this is the minis are absolutely fucking awesome, aren't they? They look absolutely fucking gorgeous, and they've got this really nice weight to them. It's like going back to when I was 16, where you thought that you got an 8 for gear, you ended up with a fucking quarter. Just a bit of a bummer that there's not that many in the box. I could have done with a few more options, yeah, because if you're playing with 4 players, they're all going to be out on the board. And I suppose you could accuse this game of just being gimmicky, yeah. If they'd just given you like a plastic grey miniature, then it wouldn't have had the same effect, yeah. So the fact you've got a full-blown fucking toy in the box means it actually feels like you're playing with something tangible, yeah. And I just wish that more games would do this, yeah. I wish more games would push the boat out with their component quality, because it does add to the theme and it just satisfies that lust for gimmickry that's in all of us. So the second thing that we really like about this game is that the damage equals victory points, so it encourages you to get stuck in from the off. There's no turtling in this game. You can't just sit back in the corner hoping that your opponents are going to fuck off and go away, yeah, because they're not going to. They're going to come after you. So you're going to have to risk your neck in order to win this game. And the fact that if you get close to your opponent, you can still be a coward and run away after you've given them a good poke in the eye. We love games like this. I mean, Kemet encourages the same thing. In that game, you can teleport straight into someone's backyard and take a dump on their barbecue, right? And there's nowhere to hide in this game. The fact that you've only got a few different types of terrain, which we didn't speak about because I got a memory like a fucking goldfish. I mean, just a quick recap for that. You got the hospital type tile where you can heal one wound and get a victory point. Then you've got smoke. It obstructs the line of sight, but you can move through it. And a few other bits and pieces. So there's going to be a random array of locations out on the board. And there's not really going to be that many places to hide, yeah. So you're just going to have to grab balls, dive in and swim. So the final thing that we really like about this game is that the rules are very, very simple. They're very, very tight, like my underpants. And it's just the right length where you don't start to get tired of the mechanics, right? I taught this game the other day in literally 10 minutes. The longest part of teaching is going through what all the cards on display do, but you can explain these as they come out, yeah? They're all very, very simple. You only have to really describe the 3 different categories and then everything else just falls into place. So it is like a move, attack, move type thing. And even very young kids can play this and get a grasp of it really, really easily, yeah? And after the nightmare of trying to learn Voidfall, this is like guzzling 4 ounces of uncut opium. What don't we like about Robot Quest Arena? So the first thing that we don't like about this game is that the respawns are a kind of massive issue when you think about it, yeah? If you get knocked out by the player to your right, then you're effectively going to miss a turn because you're going to respawn on the second phase of the player to your left, yeah? That means you're going to have to forfeit a turn. If the player on your left had knocked you out, then you come straight back in, right? You might have got a slap from the player on your right, but the fact is you're not going to lose a turn on that one, right? So it's a little bit disconcerting that dependent on who knocks you out, that means you may have less turns in the game than everyone else. And if the same player keeps coming after you, that can be a bit of an issue, right? So the second thing that we don't like about this game is the shop can end up stacked full of shit. Once all the decent weapons have gone, you can be looking at the shop thinking, well, I've got like a mortar in my deck. I've got one of them crossbow things. Why the fuck would I want a really low powered weapon, yeah? And maybe I didn't read the rules properly, but I didn't see a way of wiping the slate clean or getting rid of some cards out of the shop in order to make room for new ones. You're going to have to buy some shit in order to get better cards. And at some point in the game, you're going to be thinking, well, a lot of the decent cards have gone, so you're not going to be paying attention to the shop. And I suppose if I want to be brutally honest about that, then you're not going to care because you're going to have a stacked deck anyway, and you're going to be going after players' asses. If there's a pile of shit in the shop in the middle of the game, it's going to be very difficult to get the cards that you want into your deck when you want them. So the final thing I don't like about Robot Quest Arena is it seems to me that some of the cards are more powerful than others. And in fact, they are more powerful. They're meant to be, aren't they, right? Some of the 6, 7 and 8 cost weapons cards, I mean, you can shoot right across the map and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no defense on that. And like we said before, if you get knocked out by the player on your right, you're not going to have a chance to buy anything in the shop, and maybe you're going to forego the chance to get one of those weapons of mass destruction that you have been coveting for the last couple of goes, yeah? So maybe if you get knocked out, maybe you should still have the opportunity to at least buy a card from the shop. But as it stands, some of the weapons seem a little bit overpowered or underpowered for that matter. And if you get knocked out, then you ain't going to have the chance to buy them, are you? So to summarise, is Robot Quest Arena worth your time and bother today and in the future? So we are going to say yes. Robot Quest Arena is an excellent take on the Robot Wars theme / genre. It's a piece of piss to learn, doesn't take too long, and rewards an offensive strategy right out the gate. It can be a little bit unfair if you get knocked out at the wrong time, and the shop can be stocked with complete and utter dog shit just when you don't want it to. But insofar as games that don't require much intellectual investment and are accessible to all but the thickest fucking dullards out there, then Robot Quest Arena comes highly recommended by us. So there you go. That is Robot Quest Arena. Remember, if you're new here, consider subscribing to this channel, hit the like button and all that YouTube bullshit. We'll see you next time.